Who on the St. Louis Blues needs to step up this upcoming season?
Hey, this is Braden Chen. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I'm going to talk to you about players that I feel like need to step up just a little bit, not too much, but I'd like to see some more out of them. Are the Blues better now than they were a year ago? That is the big question today. And yes, we're getting closer to puck drop because today it is the last day of July. It is August 1st. Maybe when you're listening to this, it's August 1st. And that means that preseason will be next month in September. Isn't that so crazy when you think about it? So, yes, the timeline is going by quite fast. But hey, we have a lot of time where we need to still discuss, evaluate, and see what needs to improve or change with this team. When I think about players that I would like to see step up just a little bit, nothing too crazy, I think about our captain, Braden Shen. And I think Braden Shen is a good player, a good, well rounded player. He does great on the faceoffs. And I think offensively and defensively, he is really well rounded. Here's the thing. Sometimes we see Braden Shen a little bit out of position, and I don't think it happens too often, but when it does, it is noticeable. And again, I think that he is a great captain. I think that he is great in the locker room from what we hear. But I also think, too, just overall as a player, I would just like to see him maybe get a little bit more goals. Now, last season, he had 32 assists, which was a lot better than the season prior, where he only had 26. But I mean, Braden Shen used to be a guy that could get into the 40s even with assists. I mean, I look back to the 2022-23 season. 21 goals, 44 assists. Okay. He was great that season. And you know what? It's not like Braden Shen's been so inconsistent with his goal scoring, but usually he gets at least in his 20s this season. It was only 18 goals. And yes, he did play all 82 games for the past 3 seasons. I give him a lot of credit on that. His ice time, it's around the same. It's gradually going down just a little bit, his average this season, 17 minutes and 34 seconds. But then the one big asset I feel like we get from Braden Shen is how he does on the faceoffs. He has a 52.3% faceoff percentage. And in my opinion, my personal opinion, I think that's where he is so strong in. I don't think Braden Shen, though, should be a 2C. I think he should be a 3 or 4C. And it's something against him personally. I just think that second line just needs a little bit more of a player that is younger and can produce more. I'm not saying that Braden Shen's a bad player by any means. I was the first one to say I want Captain Braden Shen to be our captain. But if I'm just going purely based off of the statistics and where I see him, I would definitely like for Braden Shen to be able to just improve from that standpoint. Another player that I feel like maybe could use some improvements and a player that, again, I would just like to see not take as many penalties next season will be Tyler Tucker. I like Tyler Tucker. I do. I watched him a lot with the Thunderbirds, and I think that he does a good job when needed. But I look back right to the playoffs, and he needs to stop taking these silly penalties. He needs to do better when it comes to just being smarter on the ice. And I think that he's gonna be, in the 3rd pair. I don't think he's gonna be in the 2nd pair or 1st pair, but I think he's gonna be in the 3rd pair, which doesn't give him more leeway, but at the end of the day, I would still like to see him maybe just play a little bit smarter. I think that he does a good job, on the ice, defensively. And it's funny with defensemen, I'm not always looking at points. It's funny. Like I know there's some people that are so analytical, I need them to, create more plays. No, your job as a defenseman is to be able to defend. And I feel like these days we have a lot of two-way players. And while that's great, Tucker isn't a two-way player. He is a true defenseman. And if he just does his job the correct way, I am fine with him not having as many points. And I hope that's something that a lot of people can begin to see. I feel like it's so easy with a player like Tyler Tucker to kind of look at his statistics and be like, oh, this guy doesn't do enough. He does what he needs to do. Besides some of the stupid penalties that he takes time to time, he does a good job on the ice, but I would just like to see that improvement just a little bit. And again, I think he does a fine job, so I'm not too concerned. Okay, now we're going to be a little bit nitpicky, just a little bit, and Alexei Turchenko. I like Alexei Turchenko, okay? The WTF line was my favorite lines this past season. But when I'm looking at Turchenko, right, he played 80 games this year, 4 goals, 14 assists, 18 points total. And this was his lowest amount of points since playing up here consistently. And I am a little frustrated with him. Now, this was the most assists he's ever had with 14 assists, so I give him credit. It's the goal scoring. 4 goals this season. And last season he had 14 goals, season prior 10. So you go from 10, 14, and 4. That's an issue. The only scoring 4 goals is a huge problem, and we need to see him try to take more shots on goal. He had 90 shots on goal. Last season he had 114 shots on goal. So yeah, that's a big difference. I don't know why exactly he ended up digressing as much when it comes to that, because he did do better with his playmaking. But again, like I just need him to score more goals. That's what it comes down to. I know that's a little bit nitpicky. In the playoffs, though, however, I do want to say he did play 7 games with 2 goals and 2 assists and 4 points. He was also +7. So it's not like he didn't step up or play well when needed. But again, little nitpicky. Speaking of nitpicky, again, that WTF line, it is my boy, the Aussie, Nathan Walker. Should I do this in an Australian accent the whole time? No, I won't do that to you. He played 73 games this season, which was the most amount of games that he's played in his NHL career in a single season. So, congratulations. I am clapping for Nathan Walker because that is a huge accomplishment. And it also was the most amount of points that he had in a season with 16. He had 8 goals and 8 assists. The only thing about Nathan Walker that I really can say that I wish that he improved on a little bit is maybe just the playmaking aspect. Sometimes he does have these turnovers, which can be a little bit detrimental. But other than that, take more shots on goal. He's an aggressive player. And I think the thing about Nathan Walker, maybe don't play him in as many games next season. I think 73 games is a lot for him because we look at the season prior, right, where he only played 45 games with 7 goals and 6 assists. So it's not like it was that far off, right? It was kind of similar to his stats from the season prior. And he played definitely more games, almost double that. So I think maybe playing Nathan Walker just a little bit, conserve his energy for the games that you need that physicality aspect into it. But other than that, I think that he did a fine job. 11% shooting percentage, not ideal. Last season, he had a 16% shooting average. I mean, it also beats the 2022-23 season where it was only a 4.7% shooting average. So that's not good. He did have 72 shots on goal. So again, like he does make improvements, right? He did good on the faceoffs this year, 52%. Again, this is just where I'm being a little bit nitpicky on some of the players on where I kind of see them improving and whatnot. All right, and then finally we have Alexander Texier. And yes, we know that he's going to the Olympics for France, but let's talk a little bit about what I want to see out of him. He only played 31 games this past season, 6 goals, 5 assists, 11 points. What I want to see out of Texier, and all honesty, is being able to play some more games. But other than that, just creating more speed on the ice. Sometimes I feel like he gets lost a little bit. Now, he did have, I believe, a better back half with the small amount of games that he played. But again, I just want to see him kind of pump up the speed just a little bit. And I suspect that he will do some really good things. All right, we're going to take a break to talk to you about my friends over at Gametime, but I want to ask you this question. I want to talk to you about it. Are the Blues a better team now than they were a year ago? But first, my friends over at Gametime. We've all been there logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. And you can save up to 60% off with their last minute killer deals. I am personally so tired of being on my phone, wasting time scrolling, just for me not to find any good tickets with good deals. Luckily, with Game Time, I'm able to see that. Plus, I'm able to see exactly where I am sitting with your seat view finder. So it just overall, it's a good experience and it makes it just that much better getting tickets. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON NHL. That is Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NHL. Locked On NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So, one big question that I have for you: are the St. Louis Blues better now than they were a year ago? And I want you, if you're listening to this podcast, first off, hit that subscribe button. But secondly, I want you to answer this in the comments because this is a big question that I ask a lot of people, not just Blues fans, but just hockey fans in general. And when you think about this, just so you know, oh, my cat just jumped on the ceiling. Hold on. Okay, anyways, but a year ago was July 31st. And guess what? We didn't have Philip Roberg or Dylan Holloway. If you recall, the offer sheets didn't happen until August 13th. So I know it sounds a little weird. I always thought it was in July, and then I have to remind myself that it didn't happen until August. So that is why I want you now. Think about it. Think about where the Blues were a year ago. There was no Holloway. There was no Broberg. The coach, it wasn't even Coach Jim Montgomery. It was Drew Bannister. And I just want you to think, were the Blues better a year ago or now? And I'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. The Blues are better now, period. I have had people tell me, "Oh, they were better a year ago." Blah, blah. No, they were not. And that is a silly statement. And the people who say that are people that are still upset about the Zach Bolduc trade. And that's what I'm getting. It always comes back to that. And this is what I want to say. Logan Mayu has a lot of talent. He is a player that I do believe will work out. Sure, the 7 games that he played for Montreal were not so great. Okay? We can come to the conclusion that they weren't great. However, I believe with a little bit more development, he will be one of the core defensive players in a sense. I mean, here's the thing. I cannot sit here and tell you how he's going to pan out and work out. I can't. I think I can sit here and I can tell you why I believe it. Um, but it's interesting, right? Because we look at him, he's 22 years old. I had to double check his age. 22 years old. He's a young player still. And yeah, did he have a great AHL season a couple seasons ago? Yes, he did. He was an all-star. He was great. Now, last season, was it as great? No. But he does have a lot of potential. And I think that when you compare him with Zach Bolduc, you're comparing apples and oranges because you're not comparing the same thing. Different positions, first off, and kind of different a skill set. It's really interesting. There's some people that say, Zach Bolduc reached his full potential. And I think that is a really interesting kind of stance on that. Um, you see, I still believe that there is some growth with Bolduc. I don't think that we saw all that we saw with him. But at the end of the day, there's more room to grow with Logan than there is with Bolduc, right? And again, having a right-handed defenseman is a really big thing. He's 6'3", 212 pounds. So he's built the way that you need a defenseman to be built. But in terms of growth, I think that you would get more value out of Logan Mayu. I do. And again, you have to think about where the Blues were last season when they didn't have Broberg and Holloway. They already got Texier, so they had him, but they did get. I'm trying. You see, here's my issue. They got Foxa, but when did they get Foxa at? Foxa trade last. Okay, so yeah, that was on Blues get Foxa from. So that was on July 2nd. So yeah, so the Blues had him. They got. And not that Foxa was like. I mean, he played well actually, so I'll give him that. Um, and then they got Matthew Joseph too. Okay, so they got Mojo and Foxa on July 2nd, 2024. So they had him already. So, but that wasn't enough. And you really needed that like extra boost. And that is why I believe the whole offer sheet situation was one of the most ballsy moves. I don't know if I can say that, whatever, but it was one of the most ballsy moves I have seen from a GM because that solidified the future of this team. Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway have been some of the best assets to this team. And a lot of us say this, and it's true. If Holloway was healthy for the playoffs, I still think it would have been a challenge, but they would have probably won. Because when you have Holloway and Jordan Kyrou with each other, it's such a dominant game between the two players, and it just elevates Kyrou's game. Already 70 points this past season, and you just think, well, what if Holloway was able to finish out, and what if he was playing in the playoffs? And I think that the offer sheets too, and I know Doug talked about this, it did speed up the Blues' process because I don't think the Blues went into this past season prior to the offer sheets thinking that they were going to be a playoff contending team. I don't think that they thought that. And then the opportunity came because the Oilers, I mean, the ball was in their court and they just didn't want to spend the money on those two guys. So when the offer sheets came around and Edmonton didn't match it, that's when I feel like the process for the Blues change. You have a franchise goalie within Jordan Binnington, almost said Jordan Kyrou, Jordan Binnington. You have a great backup of Joel Hofer, who had a really good season this past season. I think today or yesterday was his birthday. So happy birthday, Joel Hofer. And you have a star forward within Robert Thomas, and you have a great staple defenseman, really, with Colton Parayko. So for the Blues, it felt like they went from being a team that might have been like a couple years away from going back to the playoffs to a team that was built for the playoffs. Now, again, defense, yeah, like I get maybe they weren't built defensively for the playoffs actually. Yeah. Yeah, that's a factual statement. But either way, it did help them a lot, and I saw a lot of good growth from the team. But again, this is going to be the first full season that the guys will have with Coach Jim Montgomery, which in my opinion is a huge advantage because when you get a coach towards the middle of the season or a little bit of the beginning, middle of the season, end of the season, whenever you get that new coach, they don't have training camp. They don't have that time to really, run it their way. So this is a really good thing, honestly, that Coach Montgomery now has this time with the players because he knows a lot of them from prior to being here in St. Louis. And now he's going to be able to just do everything his way from beginning to end of the season. So again, that is why I ask you. A year ago, before the offer sheets, were the St. Louis Blues a better team? And if you say no, you're just a hater. So make sure I want to give a little shout out to the channel. Make sure you like, you subscribe, you check us out on Twitter at Locked On Blues for all of your blues news, blues conversations. We have late night blues chats. We do everything STL. Listen, I got a really bad knockoff Robert Thomas sweater. So if you want to see that, make sure to come onto YouTube and you can see in the background of my video. I just think it's funny, so I have it up for the time being. But yes, make sure to like, subscribe. We have 1,800 subscribers right now. That is phenomenal. So thank you, everyone who has subscribed to Locked On Blues. I started off with 200 subscribers, all the way up to 1,800. And listen, man, I love this team. This team is my heart, my soul. This is the team that I'm a fan of. So being able to do this podcast, it just allows me to be a fan and not have to be so serious all the time. Um, and I also get to speak to the players, and I have that media access too. So I'm able to bring you as much exclusive content as I can. So finally, we're getting closer to puck drop. And the closer we get, I just think back to the offer sheets. And I think back to the fact, hey, that happened August 13th. We're going to be entering August. And I have to know, will the Blues be making another big move? In my opinion, no. But I do think they need to extend Cam Fowler. So if anyone's listening, please do that. I don't think the Blues will. I don't think there's enough money to do so. And I don't think that this is the right time. Next offseason, it's going to be insane. Free agency. It's going to be wicked wild. I made that up. Wicked wild. I don't know. I thought that sounded cool. But it's going to be a star-studded free agency. So I don't think you should spend the money now, besides extending Cam Fowler, and then thinking too, you're going to have to extend Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg. So keep that in the back of your mind. But I think the guys that the Blues have now are the same guys that the Blues will go into the season with. And yes, we're going to have those conversations. Who's going to make the final roster? I know we will talk about that because that is a legitimate question. Who will make it this upcoming season? And you have to also think, two, one, will we have players make it out of camp that we didn't think will make it out of camp with some of the younger guys? Like, there's a lot of questions right now surrounding this Blues team, but it's a good type of questioning, right? Because this is all very positive. I don't think I've gone into a season in the past couple of seasons where I have felt as confident as I do now. Last season, I have to tell you, sometimes I would be watching games just to kind of take you in behind backstage, and I would be so nervous because of the defense. Like, I would be watching games and I want to live stream some of my reactions to games, like do a live show as I'm watching a game because the defense, they just made me so angry all the time. And I just felt so frustrated with our special teams. And I did see the special teams improve, so I'll give them that. The power play actually looked good towards the end of the season and the playoffs, but it was the last minute goals that were killing me. And I said some words that probably would get me in trouble, so I don't know if I should live stream it. But well, did anybody actually see? This is a little off track, but did anybody see my reaction video of when when Winnipeg scored the last second goal in the playoffs, and you just see me like all excited about to celebrate the Blues winning, and I'm like woo, and I'm holding my cat, and then all of a sudden I'm just like I'm numb. and then I went on a 45-minute live stream and just ranted about my frustrations. Yeah. That was me like every single game this year, honestly, when the Blues would oh my gosh, if I can speak. When the Blues would let in a last second goal. So I feel like I am just so used to that happening, and I don't want to be used to that. And Doug did say if that continues to happen by December, something needs to change. I'm sorry, Doug. I like you. I respect you. You're one of the best GMs of all time. No, that should not be happening at all this season. Make sure that doesn't happen from game bleeping 1. It should not be happening. And if it happens once, fix it. You cannot let this happen 17 times throughout the season. And I get sometimes things are fluky and things do happen. And Nicoletti not being here does help because he would just stand by the net. Like he wouldn't even do anything. I'm like, Nicoletti, like, what are we doing here? He's a big fisher. So I'm like, are you thinking about like fishing or something? Like, I don't even know. I don't know what he was doing. Good luck, San Jose. But yeah, overall, I need that part of the game to be fixed. All right, guys. I will talk to you at some point this weekend. Again, answer that question. Are the Blues a better team now than they were a year ago? And like always, how I end every single episode, let's go Blues.